Billionaire fired his maid for touching a necklace. But what she returned to him changed everything. Sometimes life tests us in the cruelest ways and reminds us that kindness can come from the people we least expect. If you believe that even the smallest act of compassion can change a life, then make sure to like this video, subscribe, and turn on the bell icon so you never miss another story that touches the heart. Now, let's move to the story. The morning sun filters through the towering glass walls of Richard Hale's mansion, spilling golden light across marble floors that gleam like mirrors. The air hums with quiet wealth, the soft ticking of an antique clock, the faint clink of silver trays being set for breakfast. Every inch of this home screams perfection. But beneath the polished surface, something colder lives. A loneliness money could never silence. At the top of the grand staircase, Richard Hale stands before his mirror, tightening a silk tie. He's a man sculpted by loss and pride, the kind of man whose expression rarely changes, even when his world burns around him. On his dresser, enclosed in a velvet box, rests his most prized possession, a diamond necklace. Once worn by his late wife Margaret, it's the only thing he's ever allowed himself to keep close. To him, that necklace isn't jewelry, it's a memory. The last fragile piece of a woman he never stopped loving. Downstairs, Clara Evans moves quietly through the mansion. She's been his maid for nearly a decade, a gentlewoman in her 40s, known for her careful hands and warm heart. She never complains, never takes more than she's given. Her life is small, but filled with quiet dignity. Every morning she polishes the same surfaces, dusts the same tables, and when she reaches Richard's room, she always pauses before the velvet box, her eyes soft, her hands steady. But this morning is different. Something in the air feels heavier. As the rain outside begins to patter against the glass, Clara's eyes linger on the necklace a little longer. The diamonds shimmer under the morning light, reflecting pieces of her own weary reflection. She reaches out, not to steal, not to possess, but to remember. Her fingers tremble as she lifts the necklace, the cool metal resting in her palms. Tears gather in her eyes. So much beauty, she whispers, and so much pain. But before she can put it back, the door swings open. Richard stands there, his sharp blue eyes narrowing in disbelief. For a moment, silence. Then his voice cuts through the air, cold, sharp, unforgiving. "Clara," he snaps. "What do you think you're doing?" She stammers, stepping back, the necklace clutched loosely in her hands. "Sir, I wasn't—" But the words crumble before they can form. Richard's face darkens. "After everything I've given you, my trust, my home, and this is how you repay me?" The sound of his anger echoes across the marble floors like thunder. Clara shakes her head, tears spilling now. "I swear I wasn't trying to steal it. I only wanted to—" "Enough," he roars. "Get out!" "You're finished here." The room falls still again. The necklace slips from her trembling hands, landing softly on the carpet between them. For a second, Clara looks up, not in defiance, but in sorrow. "You have no idea," she says quietly, "what that necklace means to me." But Richard turns away, his jaw tight. "I don't care what it means to you. Pack your things and leave." And just like that, years of loyalty erased in seconds. By evening, the mansion feels emptier than ever. Rain lashes against the windows. Richard sits alone in his study, nursing a glass of whiskey, staring at the flickering fireplace. The necklace lies on his desk, a haunting reminder of what he believes to be betrayal. Sentimentality, he mutters under his breath, is for fools. But deep down, something in him stirs, a feeling he can't quite name. Regret? Doubt? No, he drowns it with another sip of whiskey. Hours pass. The clock strikes midnight. The butler appears quietly at the door, holding a white envelope. "Sir, Clara left this for you." Richard frowns, setting his drink aside. "I don't want—" "Please, sir," the butler interrupts gently. "She asked that you read it tonight." He hesitates. Then with a frustrated sigh, he tears it open. Inside is a folded letter and a small faded photograph. His eyes narrow as he studies the picture, a hospital hallway, years old. In it, a younger version of himself stands beside a woman on a stretcher, holding her hand. Confused, Richard begins to read. "Dear Mr. Hale, you don't remember me. But once, a long time ago, you saved my life. I was 19, alone and terrified. You paid for my surgery when no one else would. You told the nurse to tell me it was anonymous, but I never forgot your face. I never forgot the kindness in your eyes. Richard's hands start to tremble. The room feels suddenly smaller. The words blur as rain beats harder against the glass. The letter continues. When I began working here, I wanted to thank you. But you had changed. I saw a man buried beneath pain, trying to hold on to what he'd lost. That necklace, it reminded me of hope, of someone who once believed in compassion. I didn't touch it to steal, sir. I touched it to remember the man who once saved me. Richard's breath catches. His glass slips from his hand, shattering on the floor. He flips over the photograph again. There, faint but unmistakable, is a note scribbled in the corner. Thank you, Mr. Hale, you gave me a second chance. The sound of thunder fills the room. Richard's reflection stares back at him from the window, pale, shaken, and haunted by his own cruelty. He grips the letter tightly, whispering, You don't remember me, Mr. Hale, but you saved my life once. The words echo in his mind, over and over, until the rain outside becomes deafening, fade to black. If you believe that kindness has a way of coming back when you least expect it, take a moment to like this video and share it with someone who still believes in humanity. Rain drummed softly against the glass walls of the mansion, a rhythmic, haunting reminder that some storms never end, they only move inside. Richard Hale sat frozen in his study, the letter from Clara still trembling in his hands. The fire before him had dimmed to dying embers, their light flickering across a face once carved in stone, now cracking with guilt. Each word of her letter cut deeper than the last. A story he had long buried, forgotten beneath years of arrogance and grief, now resurfaced like a ghost. Years ago, long before the empire, before the mansion, there was a younger Richard, broke, hopeful, and human. He had paid the hospital bill for a woman he never met, a single mother whose child was dying. That woman was Clara, his heart twisted. Clara, he whispered, almost in disbelief, but the letter wasn't finished. She'd written about that necklace, how it wasn't greed that made her touch it, but memory. She had been whispering a prayer for his late wife, Margaret, the very same woman who once visited that hospital and comforted her. And then, at the bottom of the envelope, Richard noticed something else. A small velvet pouch. His fingers trembled as he opened it. Inside was a delicate gold locket, old and worn, but polished with care. When he flicked it open, his breath caught in his throat. Inside, 2 faded photographs, one of his late wife, Margaret, smiling softly, holding a baby that wasn't his. The room seemed to spin. The sound of the rain faded into a dull roar. He felt his chest tighten as questions crashed into him like waves. Who was the child? Why had she never told him? Then, beneath the photographs, a small note, almost invisible, folded tightly. For Richard, from the woman who saved my son. He stared at the words, realization dawning like a cruel sunrise. Margaret had helped Clara. The necklace, his sacred memory, was never just his wife's. It had once belonged to both women, bound together by a shared act of kindness decades ago. Richard's hand went limp, the locket falling onto the desk with a soft thud. For the first time in years, tears filled his eyes. He had spent so long protecting a memory built on pride. And yet, the truth was simpler, purer. His wife and Clara had both lived by compassion, something he had long forgotten. He stood abruptly, pushing his chair back. The storm outside had eased, leaving behind a silver dawn. There was only one thing left to do. He had to find her. Hours later, Richard's car rolled into the poorer part of town, a place his tires had never touched. Streets cracked and littered, children running barefoot, laughter echoing against broken walls. He stepped out, his expensive shoes sinking into puddles, his coat drenched. People turned to stare. A billionaire in their world looked out of place. He spotted her near a small, run-down clinic, Clara Evans sitting on a wooden bench, her hands wrapped around a paper cup of tea. Her uniform was gone, replaced by a simple sweater. Yet there was peace in her eyes. Beside her, a young mother rocked a crying infant, and Clara gently helped her calm the child. She wasn't bitter. She wasn't broken. She was whole. For a moment, Richard couldn't speak. The words he'd rehearsed vanished as guilt pressed against his chest. Finally, he approached, slowly, almost uncertainly. Clara, she looked up. Surprise flickered across her face, followed by quiet composure. "Mr. Hale." Rain dripped from his hair, his voice low, heavy. "I read your letter," she nodded. "I hoped you would. I accused you of stealing," he said softly, shame evident in his tone. "I destroyed your dignity because I couldn't see past my own pain." His throat tightened. "And yet, you were the one person who reminded me what kindness truly looks like." For a long moment, Clara said nothing. Then she offered a faint smile, the kind that forgives without needing words. "We all lose ourselves, Mr. Hale. Some find their way back, when they finally stop looking in mirrors." The silence between them said more than any apology could. "But why didn't you tell me?" he asked. "That you knew Margaret? That you'd met her?" Clara's gaze softened. "Because it wasn't about me. Your wife saved my child. You saved me. I thought maybe that was enough." Richard swallowed hard, his voice trembling. "She gave you the necklace, didn't she?" Clara nodded slowly. "She said it once belonged to two women who believed in hope. When she passed, I gave it back. I thought maybe it would help you remember her heart, not just her face." He looked down, eyes glistening. "I failed both of you." Clara shook her head gently. "You're here now. That's what matters." The morning sun began to rise behind them, its light washing the street in gold. For the first time in years, Richard smiled. Small, genuine, human. He reached into his pocket and held out a white envelope. "I can't undo what I did, Clara, but I can start again. I'm launching a foundation to help single mothers, children in need. People like you once were, and I want you to run it." Her eyes widened. "Me?" He nodded. "Not as a maid. As the heart of it." Tears filled her eyes. She covered her mouth, overwhelmed. "Mr. Hale, I don't know what to say." "Say yes," he whispered, smiling faintly, "so I can make peace with the man I used to be." As the two of them stood there, one once broken by guilt, the other by poverty, something shifted. The storm had finally ended. The camera follows them walking down the cracked street side by side. No master, no servant. Just two souls finding redemption. In Richard's hand, the diamond necklace glimmers under the new sun. No longer a symbol of loss, but of connection, forgiveness and second chances. Later, at a grand charity auction, Richard places the necklace in a glass display. His voice echoes softly as he looks at the crowd. Sometimes the things we think we've lost are the ones that come back to heal us. The camera pans slowly upward, to the shining city skyline, to the same mansion that once held silence and sorrow, now alive again. Fade out. What would you do if someone you judged turned out to be the person who once saved you? Tell us in the comments, because sometimes forgiveness is the greatest form of wealth.